reporter, photographer. We are now rolling.
Okay.
So if you could, just kind of go back. I know you've told the story a million times, but this is a big part of your life, obviously. Hurricane Katrina, you being impacted down there in New Orleans and coming up and settling here. Kind of take us through that process, if you could.
The Friday before Katrina hit New Orleans, we didn't even realize there was a hurricane coming. So Saturday morning, it all of a sudden went from not knowing to everybody being told there was going to be mandatory evacuations. At the time, I had a 2.5-year-old and an 8-week-old, so there was no option for us. We were trying to get out as quick as possible. So we packed up and left on Saturday and went to my sister's in Montgomery and kind of stayed there to ride everything out. And right after the storm, it seemed like all the reports showed that New Orleans had kind of dodged the bullet. So we really didn't expect, I mean, I thought we were going to pack up and go home until just a few hours later we heard that the levees broke. And we lived by the 17th Street Canal breach in New Orleans. So when that breach broke, or when the levee broke right there, it came through, and we had for 20 days, we had 12 feet of water in our home. So we started over in Alabama with 2 suitcases and 2 kids and 2 dogs. And my husband is a veterinarian, so he was offered a job in Birmingham. And I had always wanted a second location for my business. I felt like Birmingham was the perfect place because I can drive to New Orleans. My clients had been scattered to Nashville and Atlanta and parts of Mississippi. It allowed me to reach all of them within driving distance. And so it just felt like this was the right move for us.
Now you got here, you got situated. Talk about the steps, the process to get to where it took you a few years to get to where you were, but as you started getting this business, getting started, talk about that process.
It's funny because people ask me all the time, how did you come into Birmingham? You didn't know anyone and you just picked your business up and started over. How did you do that? I really think it was one of those God things. I was in survival mode. And the next thing you knew, I had a client here, and there were different magazines who asked to tell my story, and the clients just started coming in. And that's, I firmly believe when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and you're following God's path, that's how it all works out for you. You just don't even realize it's happening till it's already happened. And so we just started growing by leaps and bounds, and it all happened so fast. And the next thing you know, we were opening a retail store, and we've got clients all over the Southeast. And it just, I'm asked all the time if I could do anything different during Katrina, what would I do? I wouldn't do anything different. I would do it all exactly the same.
Well, and I guess as it caught on and as your success was happening with this career up here in Birmingham, I guess in a way it probably helped you heal and move on past what was obviously a very difficult time, and that to see everything you have flooded and ruined. Talk about how, I guess, starting over here and getting going again probably helped you heal some.
I think because of what I do every day for people and helping them to make decisions on what to let go and how to purge, that it really very quickly became evident that this was such a blessing. Like, I was learning what it was like to let go. So now when I work with people and help them to let go, I have this personal experience of what it's like to let go. And Birmingham was so welcoming, and everybody we met here was so eager to help us and to nurture us, and it made the process so much easier. We just felt at home.
Were you impacted by the April 27th tornadoes over here in this area? If so, talk about that impact, and were you scared that you may have to start over again?
During the tornadoes, my home was not personally affected, but the morning of the tornadoes, one came through Cahaba Heights, which is where my store is, and of all the shops in the shop, we had moved locations within the shopping center 2 weeks before the storm, and the location we were in was destroyed. And the location we had moved to just 2 weeks prior was totally saved. And like everything around us in the shopping center had damage. I mean, to the left of us, the windows were blown out. To the right of us, they lost all their inventory. And it was as if when that tornado came through, God was like, oh, wait, hold on. She's already been through enough. We're going to kind of skip over this, because we were totally unscathed. I mean, we had no damage whatsoever. we came out as soon as we heard, before the tornadoes came through that afternoon, when the one came through in the morning in Cahaba Heights, we immediately came out here to assess the damage and see what had happened to our neighbors and kind of, you know, help look through everything and see if we could help in any way, because I know how that is. I know what it's like to go through something that devastating and how comforting it is when people come out to try and help you and want to be there for you.
Now, you do have a business in New Orleans now, correct? As well as here.
Mm-hmm.
What's it like managing two in, yeah, it's the region, it's the Southeast, but they're not exactly next door like Hoover and Birmingham.
Right.
So how do you handle two locations, I guess is my question.
I feel like I have the best of both worlds, having, you know, an office in New Orleans and one in Birmingham, because New Orleans is home and Birmingham is my new home. So I get the best of both worlds. I get to go home and have the amazing food every other week in New Orleans, and then I get to come home to Birmingham where my children are in school and this is our home. And so sometimes it gets really hectic when we have, you know, right now we just have a ton of projects booked all over the Southeast, and there's a ton of travel, and that gets a little chaotic, but we manage.
Would you consider yourself OCD in what you do? If so, do you kind of have a release yourself, or is your car perfect? Is everything just organized in life?
Yeah.
Give us a little inside scoop that maybe people don't realize.
I definitely, you know, I've been asked a lot whether or not I'm OCD or I just use that term loosely. I actually have OCP, which is obsessive compulsive personality, with OCD tendencies, if you want to get really technical. And you know, it's like I function better when everything is straight and orderly, and people are like, you just need to relax and have fun. Why are you so worried about it? It's part of who I am, and so it's not something I can turn off. So yes, my house is meticulous. Everything is labeled and in its place, and it's always that way. And but my car is another story. That's my dirty little secret.
All right, fantastic. I do want to, again, we'll stop this part now. We'll go over